We have a chance to be one hell of a big story this year, man, if we put our heart and soul into this football team. Knock on wood if you have that message, please. And we're here to help you. All right, we're here to help you. Knock on wood if you're with me. Just knock on wood if you're with me, man. All right? Knock on wood if you're with me. All right? Knock on wood if you're with me.
A few moments later.
John Gruden made racially insensitive comments about DeMaurice Smith, the executive director of the Players Association. Then we learned that he was against the NFL bringing in a guy like Michael Sam, saying the commissioner should not be encouraging then Rams coach Jeff Fisher to draft queers. Then he sat up there, and after all of that, what did he say after that? He calls the commissioner the P word. He calls the vice president of the United States the P word. He's against women being officials in the National Football League.
Are you with me, everybody? Knock on wood.
Boo, you suck.
Yikes. This is a interesting story. I'm not sure if it'll interest my viewers or not, but seeing as how I cover a lot of cancel culture stuff here, the debate is raging whether or not John Gruden was quote unquote canceled. To me, it's obvious that yes, of course he was. That doesn't mean he had much of a career left anyway. I imagine walking into that locker room after some of the things that came out in his emails was going to be a physical impossibility for the man. He had almost no choice whatsoever but to resign, especially in today's modern climate. I do think it's pretty rich watching all of these NFL players and NBA players and commentators on TV clutch their pearls over some of the things that he said, acting like they've never been around the sport. If you've been around a football field or a basketball court, these are the type of languages and these are the type of things that are said all the time. That doesn't make it okay? But I'm just pointing out that, like, clutching pearls over this now seems a little bit manufactured. If you aren't following this, is essentially the white whale of cancel culture. John Gruden, the $100 million man, has some emails leak. It starts off with an email that leaks back from 2011 where he says something that is pretty spicy, okay? But this is an email from 10 years ago. So at the time, everybody was pretending to lose their mind over it. I think he had said, well, here, I'll give you the actual statements. So the New York Times report, the New York Times is really what got him canceled. Let's actually start with that. You see, in an email, Gruden, who is white, was working for ESPN at the time, criticized DeMaurice Smith, that's the head of the NFL Players Association, intelligence, and used a trope to describe his face. I believe he said something along the lines of his lips look like a Michelin tire or something like that. Like, that's obviously over the line. Gruden also criticized President Obama during his reelection, and then Vice President Joe Biden, whom he called a nervous, clueless P word. True. He used similar words to describe Goodell and DeMaurice Smith, and the executive director of NFL Players Association. The league was already investigating Gruden as a result of another email he wrote back in 2011, in which he used terms, I would say a over-the-line term to describe another man. Taken together, the emails provide an unvarnished look into the clubby culture of the NFL circle of peers, where white males, decision makers, feel comfortable sharing spicy images, deriding league policies, and jokingly sharing phobic language. But again, should John Gruden have been fired? I don't think that they had to act at all, because what is the NFL? Let's just take a guess. 90% black? That locker room in the Raiders, he lost them. There was no way he was going to be able to do his job going forward. I guarantee you, though, a lot of those players, after seeing emails and text messages come out from John Gruden from over 10 years ago, are pretty nervous about their own messages coming out. There's a lot of bants and banter and stuff that is included here. We're also judging a man by today's standards, where even just 10 years ago, some of this stuff wouldn't have been seen as egregious as perhaps it is. This banter flies in the face of the league's public denouncements of all sorts of things. Imagine that. Amid criticism for not listening to the concern of black players who make up 70% of the rosters. That's less than I thought. The NFL has made past struggle to discipline personnel who have committed acts of bad behavior. The league, DeMaurice Smith and Davis all denounce Gruden's comments about Smith when they surfaced, but the coach still led his team in Friday's game against the Bears. Gruden said Friday that he did not remember sending the email and that his language, quote, went too far, adding that I've never had a blade of racism in me. Gruden's email to Allen, who was fired by Washington football team at the end of 2019, were reviewed as part of an NFL investigation of workplace misconduct within the franchise that ended this summer. Goodell instructed league executives to look at more than 650,000 emails during the past few months, including those in which Gruden made offensive remarks. Last week, Goodell received a summary of their findings, and the league sent the Raiders some emails written by Gruden. In the exchanges, he used his personal email account, while Allen wrote from his team account. In some cases, Allen initiated the conversation with Gruden, chimed in, and others, whatever. Some of the emails, they talked about Friends, the co-founder of Hooters, Jim McVeigh, blah, blah, blah. The exchange, I guess I don't care. Most of the stuff in these emails is cringe boomer banter. Not anything that you wouldn't normally hear from NFL players. But, the funny thing is Dave Chappelle was right. Everybody had moved on past his comment about DeMaurice Smith. But then once he made fun of, once he said, he mentioned something about a gay player, that was the final straw, it sure seems like. Private Allen and Gruden appeared to have few boundaries in expressing phobic language. In one email that included whatever, Gruden crudely asked Allen to tell Brian Glazer, whose family owns the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where Gruden coached, to perform oral on him. Allen said that Glazer would take you up on that offer. Oh my God. So he's worried about some guy saying to another guy, S my D. Most of this stuff is so absurd. He criticized a congressional bill aimed to force the Washington franchise to change its name, which the team stopped using last year, again using vulgar language. Ooh, vulgar language. Gruden took aim at Goodell and his staff, even though the commissioner had initially defended the team's right to keep the name. In 2017, he shared with a group a spicy meme of a female referee in which Gruden replied, "Nice job, Roger." I don't know. There were some things in these emails that, I would argue crossed the line. But this is obviously a cancel culture case. Obviously. I don't think that John Gruden gets fired if not for the New York Times and the Twitterverse coming out and demanding it. He came out Monday night, less than an hour after New York Times report, saying, "I have resigned as head coach of the LA Raiders. I love the Raiders and do not want to be a distraction." This man's career is over some emails, some spicy emails that he had sent. Now, I think the system would have taken care. It would have taken care of himself. I think he probably would have lost the locker room, although maybe not. Here's some of the original emails. Last week, as a part of, in Gruden said the NFLPA had DeMaurice Smith. Dumboris Smith has lips the size of Michelin tires. That's going to get you canceled. Now, a black guy saying that to another black guy probably happens all the time, but a white guy really can't say that. Gruden said he wasn't racist, but on Monday, the New York Times reported that other emails Gruden sent, which he had unearthed as part of this investigation, in which he referred to the commissioner as a bundle of sticks and a clueless P word. Again, that word is thrown around constantly. Kobe Bryant used to say the word. You hear the word all the time on NBA courts, all the time in the NFL field. All right. I'm not saying it's okay, but let's not act like John Gruden wasn't using the same word that his players weren't. Gruden said in an email to Goodell, shouldn't have pressured then St. Louis Rams Jeff Fisher to draft queers, a reference to Michael Sam. That was it. By the way, that was the final straw. Make no mistake about it. The New York Times also reported that Gruden in emails criticized the hiring of women as referees and also the acceptance of players protesting for racial justice during the national anthem. The Times said Gruden had exchanged photos of women, who cares, about that. You know, this is the thing. Gruden probably knew this was coming. Twitter is bending itself over backwards to talk about how this isn't cancel culture. But, you know, if you look at the way that most people are responding to the coverage of this, if you look at some of the YouTube comments, for example, of people, you know, discussing this, you'll find a more nuanced take.
Good morning.
People who really aren't that offended by it. That's every NFL team. Don't let them fool you. Guarantee if they pulled every current NFL player and coach's texts and emails over the last 10 years, they'd have to shut the league down tomorrow under this criteria. I wonder how many derogatory terms are spewed on the field literally every game. I mean, you know, the thing is, again, here, everybody in that email chain was talking out of line. You can call someone a slur in my presence. You can't call someone that in my presence without hearing how I feel about it. So the fact that it's multiple emails over 7 years, that's how they were all talking. I mean, Gruden must have pissed someone off high off. They got him canceled quick. It was tolerable when it was just black jokes. Dave Chappelle was right. I mean, that's a thing. You know, I think that, again, I don't think that, you know, he wasn't talking about me in particular, so I don't take any offense to it. I try to look at it, you know, I think that is the language of the league. I think that, you know, I think if you took an actual poll of how many players were super accepting of Sam or whatever his name was, the first openly gay player, I bet you'd hear some of those bundle of stick words. The difference is John Gruden was an idiot and he put it down on paper. Yes, he shouldn't have been talking like that in the first place. Times change, people change. But make no mistake about it, this was the biggest get for cancel culture ever. The $100 million powerful white man whose career is now over a few emails. I hadn't heard anything about him. Now a lot of people are, you know, coming out of the woodwork like Keyshawn Johnson, trying to talk about how like, I knew all along. I was fine cashing checks from him, but I knew how he was. You know, I think that they knew about this for a very long time. And you can see here one of the top comments. I guess no one's ever been to a football environment or what the NFL players say to each other on a game. First thing everyone thought to themselves when Gruden resigned, hope nobody sees my texts and emails. These guys have spent their whole lives in a sport, an alpha male environment, and you're surprised? Come on, man. All the self-righteous will now come forward, especially ex-NFL players who are now commentators that played in a much worse and less socially evolved NFL. 100% dead right. Hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.